this video, we'll be repairing the suede damage on a pair of Travis Scott 4s using some neutral Suede and Nubuck renewal powder and sealer. We'll be going through this process step by step, and I'll be showing you some different ways to apply the powder and sealer along with some do's and don'ts. My name is Footprinse. Now let's get into this tutorial. All right, so right here I'm going to show you how to apply the neutral powder. You want to prep your surface so that it's not too smooth, because then the powder and sealer, you may have a little trouble with it sticking. And when you apply it, you want it to be thin because you want flexibility. So I'm gonna get my 3-way sanding block, and then I'm gonna lay the suede down, kind of open it up a little bit, and damaged areas, and trying to lay them down as much as possible. And then I'll even take the coarse side and I'll open that suede up just a tad bit. Just like that. And you see it kind of coming off. Okay, then you can lay it down a little bit if you want. And now you're prepped and ready to start applying your sealer and powder. All right, so right here, I'm gonna get my sealer. I got a little pipet over here, and I'm gonna take some out. Okay. Then I'm going to apply some sealer to a brush. 2, 3, 4, right? And then we're gonna apply that sealer. And we're doing our best here to avoid the stitches. You could even put it on direct if you want. Like so. And then apply. Now, once you got that going, you're ready to start putting on your powder. So we're gonna go over the top here and get that off. Gonna get a screen. And you're gonna go over it just like that. And you're gonna dust it on, nice and light. You can get your palm and kind of tap it in. You can also get a card here and press that in. You want it to really get in there. Then you can kind of just, I'm just gonna just blow it off. Just like so. Now we're gonna I got a brush here. It's from the Footprinse cleaning kit. It's level 3 brush. And I'm gonna brush the powder out the stitches. Now we got it here, it's light. And we got those small areas filled. I'm just cleaning up the edges here. Pat that down. All right, so now here we're about to spray on the sealer. And we're gonna spray from about 12 inches away, because if you hit it too close, the pressure might put a hole in the powder. So we're gonna be like about a foot away, and you're gonna let the mist hit the powder. And you'll see the powder get damp. Okay, and that's good right there. You can see what I was telling you about. You see that, how the pressure hit it? So I might have to sand that down when it's dry. What's important is, too, a side note, that you let this dry properly. At least an hour. You got to at least let it dry an hour before you're able to start sanding things down smooth. All right. So this one right here is drying, and it's in the process of being airbrushed. And you can see some spots and stuff are showing up here. I am sanding as I'm airbrushing. Like, I'll airbrush and I'll allow it to dry for like an hour, and then I'll come back and sand it down, and then airbrush again. Okay, so right here for the small area, I'm gonna get my dropper. I'm gonna get a little bead to come out, and I'm just gonna let it absorb. Just gonna let that absorb, just like so. Okay. Now I'm gonna get my powder and do the same thing. I'm gonna dust. Just dust that up there. And then we're gonna press that in to that area. And you really want that to go in there, because when you airbrush, you want it to blend. Okay. Now I'm just gonna get my dropper and get a little bead out again, and get that one off of there, and let it absorb. It's a bubble up there. Okay. Just like that. And then we're gonna let that dry for at least an hour and come back and sand it down low. And then we'll go over it with the airbrush. All right, so for right here, we're dried up. And now we can begin to start sanding this down smooth. So we're doing this the same way as if we were painting. So I'm gonna get myself a piece of 400 grit sandpaper. This has been drying for an hour. And I also put this in to speed it up or make sure, I put it under a UV light or the ice box to, you know, make sure like it got really dry, because when it's inside of the ice box, like it's like dry heat in there. So I just made sure, and it looks like I'm going back and forth, but I'm switching, going in one direction either way, either forward or backwards. As we're sanding here, it makes things lighter and gives it like a powdery white surface. So when I go to airbrush, the color will be even. You can see it getting smoother as I go. Okay, and I'm not pressing down, I'm just letting the paper do the work. One difference I can say on another note, when I'm airbrushing with the powder versus without, I don't brush it in. I just airbrush and then I let it dry. If you want to learn how to airbrush and redye Travis Scott 4s, you can go check out my other video on my page. But I would say that's the only difference, because when I'm airbrushing with the neutral powder and when I'm not, is I'm not brushing it in after I spray on a coat. You can see that we're getting that down thin, thin as we can to level it out with the neutral that was already there. And we're gonna get that out of the stitches, same way. Now to really smooth things out, I also get my sanding block from the patent leather hand painting kit, and I'll just sand like that and get in those seams. Just get it smooth. And you can see it getting lighter, like it's making like the surface light, and that's perfect for when we begin to airbrush so that the color comes out even. All right. So right here, I'm sanding in between airbrushing, okay? And I'm gonna apply a final light coat of neutral just to blend everything in. Make sure that's in there. Inches away. Now we're gonna let that dry for like an hour, hour and a half maybe. To speed up the process for me, I'm gonna go stick this in the ice box or under a UV light. So here we are, we've been under the UV light for almost an hour and we're pretty much dry. I cannot stress to you how important it is for it to be dry before you start sanding. Got flexibility, so it is a part of the sneaker. Now for the patches right here, if you got a little bit of patches, that's okay. Just get your spray and do the same thing. About 12 inches away. See it get damp. And then you're gonna just hit those patchy areas. Pat that in. Nice little shake, just like so. Just pat it. Brush. And then you'll hit it with one last spray. Foot away. And we're gonna go right back in the UV light and I'll let that dry. So we did the same thing to this one, and now we're gonna put this one inside the icebox. It did dry properly and it is flexible. Just, you know, let everything dry. The whole thing to this is patience. Patience is the key to this, and letting it dry and letting the powder and sealer do its thing. So here we are towards the end. Pretty satisfied with the results. I still got to do the edges. It's a little cruddy in there, but I'm just going to give you some airbrushing tips, okay? Oh, this is leaking out. The thing was open. Well, I can tell you about that, why that's doing that. Anyway, the reason why that was leaking like that is because the stick in there, you can see the pipe. I untwist the jar a tad bit so that the pipe doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the jar and restrict the flow of liquid coming out or paint and whatnot. Another thing, so I push this needle all the way in, and that keeps the pressure low. When I go to spray onto the sneaker, it restricts the flow of spray coming out, so I don't have to worry too much about overspray. And that's just in case you don't have an airbrush that's at 25 psi or it can't be adjusted to 25 psi. That's what you would want to do. The only another difference when we're doing this versus regularly spraying like Suede, you don't brush it in when you're doing the powder. When you got the neutral powder going on here, you don't brush in. So just go check out the Travis Scott 4 redye video so you can see what I'm talking about, because this is a different type of technique here. This is just, you're just spraying it on. You're putting the neutral powder on, spraying it on, and then you're just letting it air dry. If you would like to learn more about Suede and Nubuck repair, please stay tuned for part 2, or go check out my video, How to Repair Air Jordan Bred 4s Full Restoration. In this video, we'll be doing a full restoration from start to finish. We'll be prepping the midsole, doing a full midsole repaint, and repairing the uppers using Nubuck powder and sealer. Once again, my name is Footprinse, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Now please enjoy these clips of me redyeing some Travis Scott 4s. Let's start taping up these Travis Scott 4s. I'm going to be doing a slight redye, repaint. I'm not going to let that spray go, because if I let it go, I might get some splatter. And we'll just do this till I like the color. Now that looks like that was just what we needed to get that color to pop. I got Travis Scott for midsole paint, Travis Scott spray dye. You can go check it out in the store.